In the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good morning. The first line of the gospel today really caught my attention. The apostles were critical because someone was helping people in Jesus' name, but they tried to stop him because he wasn't doing it the way that they wanted it done. But Jesus said to them, "Do not stop him, for no one who does a deed of power in my name will be able to speak evil of me." And so, with the apostles' words, we have that harsh, critical spirit, even among the apostles of Christ. Having a critical spirit is in everything. Having a critical spirit in everything seems to be so prevalent these days. And we need to try to stop doing it. We need to try to stop having such a critical spirit. There are many writings and ministers' podcasts about this that I draw from my sermon. The thing I will bring out as my main point this morning is that too many people go through their life focusing on what is wrong rather than what is right. Many people have developed a habit of seeing the negative in everybody and everything. They can walk into a brand new house, beautifully decorated. They couldn't ask for a nicer place, but instead of seeing the 1,000 things that are right, they will point to the one small scratch on the floor over in the corner. It's become commonplace for some people to be drawn to the negative. Some people don't see the beauty in a rose. And you know the negative of that, right? Some people can only see the thorns. And in life, no matter how much good there is, you can always find something bad if you look hard enough for it. Some fault, something that we don't understand. And so we can either develop an eye for the good, or we can develop a critical eye about everything. This is especially important in relationships. You know, you can train yourself to see people's strengths, or you can train yourself to see their weaknesses and their flaws. You can focus on what you like about your spouse, or you can focus on what you like about them and bring out their good qualities, or you can focus on what you don't like and highlight the things that you don't like. The first thing that comes to my mind is, you can focus on the things you don't like. Like one of the favorite examples people give is, that the husband leaves the socks on the floor and walks right by him and expects you to pick them up. Or you can also think about all the good that he does, that kind of thing. So I think that's why relationships are in such trouble. People look at the negative. Many people develop this habit of being negative. It's like this man I heard about. This man I heard about, he asked for 2 eggs. One scrambled and one fried. You already know the answer to the question, right? His wife made them and she put them there on a plate in front of him. And when he saw them, he just shook his head. Shook his head in disgust. She asked him what she did wrong this time. That she did exactly what he asked for. And he said, "I should have known it. You fried the wrong egg." Some people have become so critical. I bring that example up to get your attention. Some people get so critically minded that no matter what they do, it comes up negative and hurtful. And for some married couples, because of this, they don't see the good their spouse does. They've forgotten the reasons they fell in love in the first place and got married. Now, Here's an assignment. I know we don't have pencil and paper, but I want you to kind of think about it for later on. An assignment. If you have trouble in this area, I would encourage you to make a list of the qualities that you like about your spouse or your loved one. Write down the things that they do right. Later on today, when you have pencil and paper, think about it that way. Write down some of the good qualities of your loved one. And when you sit down and think about it, there are good qualities. And there is good qualities in everyone. So write them down. Put them next to the nightstand if you have to. Focus on them. You know, for example, he may not be the best communicator. A lot of men aren't. He may not be the best communicator, but he's a hard worker. Put that on your list. He may have some weaknesses, or no, she may have some weaknesses, but she's a great mother. Put that on your list, guys. Start focusing on each other's good qualities and start to appreciate the other person's strengths and learn to downplay their weaknesses. We all have faults and do things that get on other people's nerves. I mean, we're human, right? The key is what we are seeing in our mind's eye. What we're seeing in our mind's eye is what's most important. So many people nowadays, they seem to magnify the negative in others. When we let our critical spirit rise up, we start seeing only the things we don't care for in others. That's when we start complaining about silly little things like the wrong egg getting fried. We complain about the silliest things sometimes, don't we? Or critical about the silliest things. And when we're critical, we begin to exaggerate or embellish. Seems to be the new word for exaggerate, I guess. We embellish things. And we make big deals out of things that aren't big deals. I think every one of us here knows that people respond better to praise than they do to criticism, right? People respond better to praise than they do to criticism. And when we are constantly critical about everything, I think we need to realize the problem probably isn't in the other person as much as it is within us. Remember the story about the lady who looked out the window and saw the neighbor hanging up her wash on the clothesline to dry, and she noticed that the wash was very dirty and dingy, and so she said to her husband, "Our neighbor doesn't even know how to wash her clothes. They aren't even clean. I wonder if she even uses detergent." Well, day after day, she made the same kind of comments. Several weeks later, she looked out that window and the clothes were just as bright and clean as they could be. She was so surprised and called her husband. And she said, "Honey, look, she finally has learned how to do her wash. I wonder what happened." And her husband smiled and said, "Honey, I got up early this morning and I cleaned the window." The problem wasn't that the neighbor had dirty laundry, of course. The problem was that the window she was looking through wasn't clean. She was seeing everything through a dirty window. And I think we can compare that to the way of life. It's the same way with life. For some people, how dirty their neighbor's laundry is depends on how clean their own window is. For some, they can't see anything done right. And they see the scratch in the floor and never the nice house. They never see what people do right. They don't even think about it. They're so ready to be critical. They don't see what people do right, only what they do wrong. I truly believe the thing they really need to do is clean their own window. The problem is not somebody else as much as it is within them. We need to look inside ourselves and we need to say to ourselves, maybe I'm the one that needs to change. If I'm critical all the time, maybe I've developed a habit of seeing the bad rather than the good in others. If I'm constantly skeptical, maybe I've trained myself to be negative, finding fault in others, instead of loving our neighbor as ourselves, following the second great commandment given by Jesus Christ himself. And the one thing I know for sure is that a critical spirit will follow you everywhere you go. You can leave one job angry, upset, and bitter, saying that they just didn't treat me right at that job. But if you don't deal with the real problem, you'll have the same kind of problem at your next job. It comes down to the internal window, if you will, being clouded by a filter that's gone through years of judgment and criticism. And as Christians, we need to work to break that cycle. We need to break that cycle of having a critical spirit toward everything and everybody. I wanted to focus the sermon on this issue for some time, and so I studied lots of information about it this week. And so what came out of it was the question of what is the solution to being so critical and negative? What's the solution to that? Think about it. What's the solution? Number one, recognize that you have the habit of seeing the worst in others. You need to recognize that and think about it. Oh yeah, I guess I do see the negative in others. Maybe I'm not feeling good about myself, so I have to be critical of them to make myself look better. Number two, just as you have developed the habit of seeing the worst, train yourself to see the good in others. If you see someone or something that you don't understand, that you don't agree with, don't be so quick to judge. And don't let that critical spirit rise up. Just say to yourself, you know what? I don't understand this. I may not agree, but I'm not going to find fault in others. I'm not going to be a fault finder. And I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to treat you like a Christian should be treated. Don't judge people by the outside. When you're tempted to be critical and find fault, recognize where the source for your judgmental, critical behavior might come from. Recognize that. Ask yourself, where is this coming from? Why am I so negative about so-and-so? They're trying to be a good person. Why do I feel like I have to put them down? I think sometimes it occurs to me that the evil one is the one that is wanting us to be so critical. I don't know about you, but I'm not going over to the other side. I'm going to stay on God's side. I'm going to choose to believe the best in others. There may be 1,000 things that I can see that's wrong with someone, but I'm going to look and look until I find at least one thing that's right. That's why I said make the list. Maybe you can at least find one thing on your list that's right? Correct? You will not go on, I'm not going to go on the side of evil. I'm going to fight it as much as I possibly can. I'm not going on the side of evil. I can choose to treat others right. And if I get burnt by someone from being nice to them, then I'm going to err on the side of mercy. I'm going to err on the side of mercy. After all, where would each of us be without the mercy of our most